4 days. Snow, mud, engine smoke, and another promise from Moscow that this time the breakthrough would finally arrive. Russian assault groups pushed hard toward the Pokrovsk axis, toward the Donetsk fortress belt, with infantry packed into the grey zone and armoured vehicles trying to force lanes through ground that had already been mapped, mined, and marked for death. Then the columns started disappearing. Not slowly, not after a trench fight where someone's courage turned the tide. They were broken apart before they ever reached one. Over 6,090 Russian soldiers were killed or wounded in 4 days between March 17th and 20th, according to Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky, who reported the figure publicly after 619 Russian assault actions across the front in that same window. That is not a rounding error. That is a catastrophe. And the part that should make every defense analyst sit up straight is this: Ukraine did it while keeping its own people out of the worst of it. More and more of the dangerous work is being done by machines, by robots, by drones hunting drones, by a kill chain that is slowly making human exposure optional for Ukraine and mandatory for Russia. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how that kill chain works and why the weapons at the heart of it are rewriting the rules of modern warfare faster than most Western militaries have even noticed. Put yourself inside one of those Russian assault waves. You are cold, wet, overloaded. You were told the defenders are exhausted. You were told the artillery preparation did its job. You were told the village ahead is weak, the line thin, the breakthrough close. But before you ever see a Ukrainian trench, you hear the first sound that matters, a buzzing above the wind, then another, then a mortar tube somewhere in the distance, then the flat crack of outgoing artillery. The road ahead is blocked by wrecks you were not briefed about. The field to your left looks open until the first vehicle nosedives on a mine. The men around you spread out, but not too far, because they know there are more mines off the track. Someone shouts to keep moving. Someone else points upward. You still have not seen the enemy. That is the point. The battlefield has already seen you. What you are walking into is not a defensive line in the traditional sense. It is a sequenced killing system. Mines first. Not just to destroy, but to shape, to channel, to force vehicles into bunches and infantry into predictable corridors. Once the column is compressed, mortars begin dropping where vehicles pause, reverse, or try to bypass wrecks. Artillery and other fires then hit clustered targets. Not a flowing advance, but a jammed column with nowhere to disperse. After that, FPV drones and bomber drones do the finishing work, hunting vehicles that are disabled rather than destroyed, then chasing surviving infantry as the formation starts to disintegrate. It is not one weapon winning the fight. It is sequencing. Ukraine is turning the battlefield into a relay race, where each system hands Russian troops to the next system in line. Now shift to the other side. You are not in a trench. You are in a command post, maybe kilometers back from the edge. There are screens in front of you, a drone feed, another drone feed, a thermal image, a map with icons updating in real time. The first Russian vehicles have already triggered the shaping fires. You watch the column hesitate. That hesitation is everything. One pause means the minefield did its job. 2 pauses mean the mortar crews are about to get paid. You are not seeing chaos. You are watching geometry. A vehicle turns right into a lane your team expected. Another backs into a damaged APC and blocks the track. You pass coordinates. Artillery lands. Then the FPVs lift. Tiny crosshairs. Tiny corrections. Then impacts. The Russians are in the open, and you are operating the battle like a switchboard. That is the psychological breakpoint of this war. The operator watches the attack unfold from safety, while the assault force walks into a battlefield that has already decided what it wants from them. And the critical thing is that this is no longer experimental. Syrsky credited this layered, drone-guided, fortified method specifically for stopping 619 Russian assault actions in 4 days without a single breakthrough. Total Russian losses for the full week, around 8,710 killed and seriously wounded, according to Ukrainian General Staff figures. That is a weekly toll that ISW notes is likely unsustainable given Russia's current recruitment rates. Here is where the story stops being about tactics and starts being about industrial-scale transformation. Ukraine's ground robot program has grown so fast in the past 2 years that the numbers feel almost implausible. In 2024, the Ukrainian industry delivered around 2,000 unmanned ground vehicles to frontline units. In 2025, that figure was 15,000. In just the first 2 months of 2026, more ground robots were ordered through the MOD's procurement platform than in all of 2025 combined. 323 units in 2 months compared to 249 in the entire previous year, according to Brave One data reported by United 24. Ground robots are now conducting over 7,000 missions per month. The vast majority are logistics, delivering ammunition, water, and supplies to positions where pickup trucks would be shredded by FPV drones within minutes. In Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade, UGVs now handle 80% of logistics operations. In the contested cities of Pokrovsk and Myrnograd, that figure is 90%. Ukrainian manufacturer Tencor produced more than 2,000 UGVs in 2025 alone. Its director, Maxim Vasilchenko, expects demand to hit 40,000 units in 2026, with 10 to 15% of those armed. If that holds, Ukraine will field more armed ground robots this year than most countries have deployed in total across their entire military histories. And then there is the K2 Brigade. Led by Major Alexander Afanasyev, it is now described by Ukrainian military sources as the world's first dedicated UGV battalion, sending Kalashnikov-equipped wheeled and tracked platforms into positions where, as Afanasyev put it, an infantryman would be afraid to turn up, but a UGV is happy to risk its existence. His battalion also operates kamikaze UGVs, explosive-laden vehicles that roll silently toward enemy positions and detonate. In late 2025, Ukrainian army officials reported deploying a single armed land drone to hold a frontline position for 45 consecutive days, undergoing maintenance and reloading every 48 hours. Only the UGV system was present at the position, said Mykola Zenkiewicz of Ukraine's 3rd Army Corps. This was the core concept. Robots do not bleed. Two systems deserve their own spotlight because they represent very different layers of what Ukraine is building. The first is the Lyut, which translates roughly as rage, a domestically produced ground combat robot adopted by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense and already in serial production. The Lyut is a compact 4-wheeled platform armed with a 7.62mm PKT machine gun, equipped with day and night thermal targeting and powered by a silent electric motor, quiet enough that enemy troops often do not hear it approaching. It runs in temperatures from Arctic cold to summer heat, fits in the cargo area of a military pickup truck for transport, and is controlled entirely remotely by an operator at a safe distance. Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate publicly released footage of a Lyut maneuvering across shell craters and fallen trees in Sumy Oblast, opening fire on entrenched Russian positions from terrain a human soldier could not safely cross. GUR officials noted the deployment created a suppression point that enabled other Ukrainian units to conduct tactical maneuvers, meaning the robot did not just shoot, it created space. The second system is the P1-SUN, built by Ukrainian company Skyfall, and it exists to solve a different problem entirely: Russian reconnaissance drones. Here is why that matters. Russian reconnaissance drones are the eyes of Russian artillery. When those drones are up and transmitting, Russian guns know where to land shells. Blind those drones and you break the enemy's spotting loop. You slow its response times. You make its fires literally dumber. The P1-SUN is a 3D printed fiber optic Shahed Hunter that costs around $1,000 per unit, compared to the several $1 million a high-end interceptor missile costs, and reaches speeds of up to 300 km per hour with computer vision and thermal imaging. Skyfall says it has downed more than 1,500 Shaheds and 1,000 other drones in 4 months of deployment. Ukraine produced 100,000 interceptor drones in 2025. Production capacity has grown 8-fold since the prior year. The system has attracted so much international interest from Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the Pentagon itself that Skyfall says it can produce up to 50,000 units per month. Put these two systems together and you start to see the architecture. The P-1-Sun blinds Russia's spotters. The Lyut goes forward where humans cannot. FPV drones strike what moves. Artillery kills what stops. And the operator watches it all from a screen. That is not one miracle gadget. That is a stack. A kill zone with nerves. This is where the 6090 figure stops being just a casualty headline and starts being a demonstration of something strategically significant. Before Ukraine built this layered, semi-robotized kill chain, the image of the Eastern Front was trench against trench, human against human. An assault group of 500 men with dozens of armored vehicles was the kind of force that could force a local collapse. Enough men to absorb losses, enough armor to suppress positions, enough momentum to frighten a defender into committing reserves. Now that same formation drives into a battlefield controlled by mines, mortars, artillery, FPVs, ground robots, and counter-UAV screens operated by people who never have to step outside. The result, as the Pokrovsk engagement showed, was the assault group being torn apart before Ukrainian defenders ever had to step forward. US Space Force Lieutenant General Stephen Whitney told Congress this week their level of innovation is simply off the charts. That line sounds dramatic, but it is precise. Ukraine has built a domestic drone industry producing millions of units per year, a UGV sector with over 200 manufacturers, an interceptor drone ecosystem now manufacturing 2,000 units per day, and a kill chain methodology that connects all of it in real time. And the Ukrainian General Staff reports that robotic platforms have already reduced personnel casualties by up to 30%, which, across a front line stretching more than 1,000 kilometers, translates directly into more soldiers available and a slower rate of force degradation over time. The real edge, though, is not any single system. It is the speed at which Ukraine moves from idea to battlefield. Commercial drones adapted for reconnaissance in 2022, weaponized by 2023, FPV swarms at scale by 2024, armed UGV battalions and interceptor drone industries by 2026. The loop from problem to solution to mass production is running at a pace no traditional military procurement process can match. Russia launches new attack drone variants. Within weeks, Ukrainian counter-UAS manufacturers have adapted their interceptors. Russia deploys electronic jamming. Ukrainian engineers reroute guidance through fiber optic cables that cannot be jammed. Russia sends bigger assault waves. Ukraine's kill chain gets longer and more automated. Let's be honest about what Russia can still do, because underselling the threat helps nobody. Russia can still generate pressure through manpower, glide bombs, artillery mass, and sheer persistence. It has not lost the capacity to hurt Ukraine badly. It is reportedly planning to recruit another 409,000 soldiers in 2026 alone. It can still destroy towns, grind forward through ruined tree lines, and claim local gains. The Pokrovsk front remains intensely contested. According to ISW, Russian forces launched their Spring-Summer 2026 offensive around March 17th, and ISW assesses they are unlikely to seize Ukraine's fortress belt this year, but may still make tactical gains at significant cost. The key word is cost. Every assault wave that Ukraine's layered system absorbs without exposing its own infantry is a better exchange ratio. Every robotic platform that performs a logistics run a human would otherwise risk is manpower preserved. Every P-1-Sun that kills a Russian reconnaissance drone is artillery made blind. These are not dramatic single decisive moments. They are compounding advantages, small edges stacking until the opponent's command model starts to break down under the weight of constant failure. Russia has spent more than 4 years expecting mass and momentum to eventually overwhelm Ukrainian defenses. What it keeps running into instead is a system that learns faster than it can attack. Former Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny, now Ukraine's ambassador to the UK, warned at Chatham House that armed UGVs will increasingly operate as part of massive AI-powered drone swarms. In the near future, he said, we'll see dozens and even hundreds of smarter and cheaper drones attacking simultaneously from diverse directions and altitudes, from the air, ground, and sea at the same time. That future is arriving faster than most people are ready for. So here is what actually happened in those 4 days. Russia threw 619 assault actions at Ukraine's front between March 17th and 20th. It deployed tens of thousands of soldiers into what Syrski called meat grinder assaults. It used every advantage of scale, artillery mass, and willingness to accept losses that has defined its war model for 4 years. And it failed to break through a single position. It lost 6,090 troops killed and wounded in 4 days, and 8,710 across the full week. Ukraine held the line with a system that increasingly does not require Ukrainian soldiers to stand in the worst of the kill zone. Mines shape the approach. Mortars catch the pause. Artillery hits the cluster. FPVs finish what moves. Ground robots go where humans cannot. Interceptor drones blind the enemy's eyes. And operators watch it all from screens, passing coordinates, adjusting fires, closing the relay. Ukraine can absorb the loss of robots, Major Afanasyev said. It cannot afford to lose battle-ready soldiers. That sentence is the strategy. That is the doctrine. That is why the 6,000 number matters, not just as a casualty count, but as a proof of concept. A smaller country with fewer people is learning how to make exposure optional for itself and mandatory for the enemy. That is how the rules of war get rewritten, not in a single dramatic breakthrough, in 4 days of relay races that Russia's commanders never saw coming, because the battlefield had already decided what it wanted from them before any of them arrived. Subscribe if you want to follow this story, because the next phase of this arms race, AI-guided swarms, robot-on-robot engagements, autonomous targeting decisions, is already in testing. And Ukraine is not waiting for permission to get there first. For context on how Ukraine is simultaneously hitting Russia's economy while holding this line, check out our breakdown of the Baltic oil terminal strikes, where Ukraine set fire to Russia's biggest export ports while the world was watching Iran.